Look, this was beautifully done. It was an A+. Everybody involved did a terrific job. The two book runners, retail for Morgan Stanley, institutional for Goldman, they're superb. I've not seen a deal done as well as this one that I can recall. I'm sure, obviously, Elon Musk had a great deal to do with it. That would be wrong not to say that. But
Jim Cramer definitely has a point. The SpaceX IPO, and I often speak in hyperbole, but this is not one of those cases, could not possibly have gone any better. There was a very real risk of extreme volatility. We didn't see that. Despite the astronomical demand, particularly from retail investors, we didn't see the stock go parabolic. We didn't see it implode. In the end, closed up just under 20% for the day. In this video, we'll look at some of the finance media coverage, some retail investor reactions. I'll also share some more of my own thoughts, including the good and the bad.
Really perfect, Kelly. It's just a fantastic job. I've said that I thought it could go up to 2.5 trillion. It might do that, but you got in at a good price. People who want to buy more, who got in, are going to have a very good average. It's really just very well done.
Again, Cramer has nailed it on this very important point. Prior to the SpaceX IPO, the latest rumors were that retail investors around the world had requested well in excess of $100 billion of SpaceX stock for the IPO. SpaceX themselves had stipulated 30% of their $75 billion raise at IPO was to go to retail investors. Now, I'm not very good at math, but 30% of $75 billion is a lot less than the more than $100 billion that had been requested. In fact, around about 20%, meaning that retail investors appear to have demanded roughly 5 times as much SpaceX stock as they were actually able to be allocated. Many retail investors may have faced the possibility of getting a small allocation. We'll get to this in a little bit more detail soon about who got what, depending on where they were in the world. But imagine you put in a request for, let's just say, 100 shares of SpaceX stock and you're allocated 10. Then SpaceX IPOs and you see the stock open at $150 and then immediately rocket to $300, just hypothetically. That has to be a little hard to stomach, given that you wanted 100 shares, you got 10 at $135, and then you have to ask, well, now what? I got all this additional money left over. I want to own SpaceX, but bro, what? It's already $300? Fuck my life. I have to say, I'm actually very surprised at how well this IPO went. The worst possible outcome by far would have been the stock absolutely surging. I would like to own SpaceX stock. I put in a request ahead of the IPO. I got an allocation, but it wasn't 100% of what I asked for, meaning I've got to buy more. The last thing I wanted to be doing was deploying that cash into a company whose valuation had absolutely skyrocketed on day one. The best possible outcome from a purely self-interested point of view would have been the stock absolutely shitting the bed and crashing catastrophically, because then my money's going a lot further. But that would have no doubt been suboptimal for SpaceX and many investors who would be crying themselves to sleep as opposed to backing up the truck. Instead, as Cramer points out, those who didn't get their full allocation at the IPO price still have an opportunity, and did today, to build their position in SpaceX not too far off the IPO price. That is a massive win for retail investors around the world. The biggest winners by far out of the SpaceX IPO were just retail investors, but the subset of retail investors for whom being allocated even a single share of SpaceX stock was very meaningful. As shares were being allocated around the world on X, I posted this: if your SpaceX shares have been allocated, what % of what you asked for did you get? Not far off 2,000 replies to this post. A lot of data. Having read through hundreds of these replies and also just asked Grok to read all of them and provide some analysis, some pretty clear patterns have emerged, and it paints a wonderful picture for retail investors, especially those who didn't have piles of cash to invest. It appears that every investor who asked for at least one share of SpaceX stock received at least one share of SpaceX stock. It also appears that many brokerages around the world prioritized allocating everything that was asked for by investors seeking up to around 10 shares of SpaceX stock. You ask for one, you get one. You ask for two, you probably got two. You ask for five, you probably got five, maybe four. You ask for 10, you probably got 10, or at least close enough. This is a big win. It would not have been fair if people with hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars to invest in SpaceX siphoned off all of the shares from everyone else. Being able to get ownership in SpaceX is far more meaningful for somebody that only has a few $100s to spare compared to somebody who has hundreds of thousands or millions. It appears that, depending on the country and the brokerage around the world, Most retail investors requesting 100 or 1,000 shares or more appear to have received anywhere from 10, but much closer to 20 in most cases, all the way up to 30 or even 40% of the shares requested. And a few got even more than that. However, there were some exceptions, and those brokerages will no doubt have a lot of questions to answer from their customers. I've seen a handful of people who requested 1,000 plus shares and received one, although admittedly this is the vast minority. I've had messages from people who requested, for example, hundreds of thousands of shares and still received a double-digit percentage of their request. But imagine you're one of the people that asked for 200 shares, 500 shares, 1,000 shares and got one. Your brokerage has some explaining to do. My best guess, those brokerages are probably a victim of their own success. Their allocation was nowhere near enough to meet demand from their users, so there was less to go around per user. But thankfully, even if this did happen to you, not a big fucking deal. As I'm recording this with the market closed, SpaceX is currently still under 169 per share. Not that far off the IPO price of 135. Speaking of retail investors, many of us see it as simply a matter of time before Tesla and SpaceX merge. Well, check this out. CNBS's Morgan, who, by the way, credit where it's due, actually knows what the hell she's talking about when it comes to the space industry and SpaceX. Impressive, right? Spoke exclusively to Gwen Shotwell, SpaceX president and COO, and literally asked about this very subject. Her answer to this may shock some people. She was surprisingly candid.
There's a lot of speculation that SpaceX could merge with its sister company Tesla. This is just one example of some of the notes that are circulating right now. This is Dan Ives from Wedbush. Continue to believe that SpaceX and Tesla will eventually merge, 80% plus chance in his view, into one company in 2027, and that the groundwork is already in place for both operations to become one organization. Your response?
That might make Elon's life a little easier, actually. There's no question that there's synergies between Tesla and SpaceX and our futures. Definitely, there's a convergence of kind of what we're all trying to accomplish in the future. But right now, I'm focused on keeping the lights on here, keeping rockets in production, flying rockets, flying people, getting to the International Space Station, and critically providing broadband to folks that don't have access to that critical capability. So I'm really focused on that. I'm not focused on that part of the future.
Very interesting response from Shotwell. She could have said, oh, I'm sorry, I can't really comment on things that may or might happen given public companies and blah, blah, blah. Nope. She addressed the question head on. And not only did she address the question head on, but she admitted, first thing she says, that might make Elon's life a little easier, actually. Which actually reminds me of a post I saw from some guy on X just yesterday who asked, hey Grok, is it more of a pain in the ass to run two publicly traded companies or one? Asking for a friend. So if we read into Shotwell's answer here, I think she is under the impression that running two publicly traded companies is much more of a pain in the ass than one. She then immediately goes on, pointing out one massive upside for the leader of both companies, including her boss, that, quote, there's no question that there's synergies between Tesla and SpaceX. So not only did Shotwell directly answer rather than dodge this question, but she's now explaining that it'd make Elon's life easier. And also, yes, there's obvious synergies between these two companies. Elaborating on the synergies between the companies, she talks about their futures and gestures in a fashion that might be representative of a potential merger. There's a convergence of what we're trying to accomplish in the future. And then, of course, she has to be a little bit more president of the company that just went public and say, but now I'm focused on keeping the lights on here. If I didn't already think it was a 99.9999999999999999999999999999999999999999999% chance that the two companies would eventually become one, well, I certainly would now. Let's move on to the next clip.
Well, and I hear about this a lot from military experts in terms of what it's doing in the war-fighting domains. But finally, I want to go back to something you and I have talked about before, and that is founder, CEO, CTO, chairman of the board, Elon Musk. What is something that is maybe misunderstood or lesser known about him that investors, Wall Street, now Main Street, should know?
I think he's very misunderstood across the board. I want people to know him. In fact, he participated in some of the discussions that we have over the last couple of weeks with investors, and the investors left saying, I had no idea that is the man. And I said, that's the man I've worked for 24 years. I love him. I think his focus on retail, by the way, is kind of, I think that embodies a lot of what he's trying to do. He's trying to make space open for everybody. He wanted this IPO. He wanted regular people to be able to buy the stock. And a lot of folks participated at the retail level.
It is worth appreciating this. A typical IPO will have an allocation of anywhere between 5 or on the high end 10% of its stock for retail investors. SpaceX, it was 30%, as much as 6 times more than is typical of an IPO, carved out specifically for retail investors around the world. And I do mean around the world. It was entirely possible that this was only able to be arranged for US retail investors. Imagine that. But Musk and the team at SpaceX ensured that everyone around the world, within reason, was able to access a brokerage and carve out at least a single share allocation at the IPO price. Now, there were exceptions. The world is messy, and there are some shithole countries with fucked up regulations that prevented this from occurring everywhere. If that happens to be you, my condolences, but thank fuck the stock isn't currently $300, so you won't need too many tissues for your tears. But this was a very strong signal from SpaceX and Musk that they really do want everybody to be able to participate and own a slice of the most exciting company on and off Earth. And for those curious, I am now officially a SpaceX shareholder, no longer 100% all in on Tesla stock, although technically it still rounds to 100%. I did receive an allocation at $135 per share, but also purchased more SpaceX stock today on the open market during trading hours. I was extremely surprised to be able to do this at what I see as an extremely reasonable valuation. I'm absolutely not complaining, and for those keeping score, I've deployed roughly, not quite, but approaching half of the cash I had available to invest in SpaceX already. Honestly, couldn't have gone any better than it did. If you're not shy, let us know in the comments below how many shares you managed to pick up today, and are you still buying more? Want more content? Early access? Bunch of perks? Click the links in the pinned comment. AG1 has been part of my daily health protocol for almost half a decade. It's packed full of vitamins and minerals and helps me fill in nutritional gaps while supporting energy, digestion, and immune function. It also has prebiotics and probiotics to promote gut health. I take my health very seriously, and so should you. Try AG1 today by visiting drinkag1.com/SMR or click the link in the pinned comment and enjoy a free welcome kit with vitamin D3 plus K2 and AG1 travel packs. That's drinkag1.com/SMR.